Hi everyone, and welcome to part 4 of the 009 project. Now originally this was going to be the final part. In this video I was intending to... What was originally going to be in this video was I was going to finish the siding up here, get the bridge finished and ballast the track. So part 4 was originally going to be the final part, but then I thought, why not make it into 5 parts instead? And so in this video, it's going to concentrate on the ballasting. Now I haven't done a video on ballasting before, I don't think. I have in the past made a video on how to make treated PVA glue for the ballast, but I don't think I've done a video to do with ballasting as such before. So in this video I am going to be doing a video on the ballasting. Here we have Woodland Scenic's ballast shaker. And this is full of fine ballast, which is the light grey stuff. And I'm using fine ballast because it should be perfect to use for the 009 track. Now I'm just going to explain which parts are going to be ballasted. The siding up here, I'm not going to ballast, I don't think, just yet, because I haven't finished it off yet. I do need to get some more pieces of straight track, which will probably be one of the next things I need to do actually. So once this siding is complete, then I'll ballast this siding. But this siding is currently not used at the moment as much because it's not been finished off yet. But once that siding is finished off, then it will be used. But the rest of the track though is used quite a lot, so that's the stuff I'm going to be ballasting. So I'm going to be ballasting up here, down along here up to the tunnel. I'm not going to be ballasting inside the tunnel because you're not going to see the ballast really, and it's a bit pointless to ballast inside the tunnel if I'm honest. I'm going to be ballasting all along here, down along here, up to about here. Now I'm not going to be ballasting behind the station because just like with inside of the tunnel there, you are going to really see the ballast behind the station here. So I'm not going to be ballasting behind there. But I am going to be ballasting up this ramp, all along up there, up to there. Now I'm not going to be ballasting the bridge because that's going to be a bit unrealistic, because you don't see ballast on the bridge. So I'm going to leave the ballast off the bridge. Because if I did ballast the bridge, it wouldn't look right, if I'm honest. But I'll be ballasting this ramp though, down all the way along here, all round here, and then up here, and then all the way up to the points. And of course, as I said before, all the way along round there. So this is going to be fun to do. Especially because I haven't ballasted 009 track before. So this will be interesting. Now when it comes to the ballasting, the method I'd usually do for it, and to show you, I'm going to demonstrate on this piece of track because I do need to reballast some of the pieces of track, or some of the sections of track rather, on the double O gauge part of the layout. So what I'd normally do for ballasting is I'd use a teaspoon. I'd get a bit of ballast on the teaspoon, and then I'd spread it across the track. Now of course when I do that, well, when anybody does that method, you've got this big mountain of ballast there. So what you need to do then is to spread it out using a paintbrush. Like so. And of course, to ballast one section of track, it will easily take you several teaspoons of ballast. And of course you've got to evenly spread it out so it doesn't get in between the track. So that's the method I'd normally use for the ballasting. But that's not how I'm going to be doing it on the 009 track. I'm going to be doing it slightly different. So the way I'm going to be ballasting the track is I'm going to be using a ballast spreader. Now the reason I'm going to be using a ballast spreader is because it takes several teaspoons to do one section of track. But with this it's different because you just fill it up and then just spread it on the track. And you could probably do one section out of this, I'd say, possibly. This is, you can get them in different gauges. This is an N gauge one. And I'm sure you're thinking, well hang on a minute, why have you got an N gauge one? Because you haven't got any N gauge stuff. Well, I'll show you. Now the reason I've bought an N gauge ballast spreader is because here I have a section of N gauge track. Now some of you might remember that originally I was going to do an N gauge project, but that went out the window. But the reason I bought an N gauge ballast spreader is because I'm going to put this N gauge track up against the 009 piece of track. And you can see it's exactly the same width as the 009 track. When it comes to gauge, N gauge and 009 are the same. I'll even put them on top of each other and you can see that the track, the N gauge track and the 009 track are exactly the same width. And they are essentially the same gauge, it's just that 009 track is narrow gauge. It just has bigger sleepers and fewer sleepers of course as well, and of course the sleepers are bigger. Whereas with N gauge it's basically 00 gauge but smaller, although you probably could say the same for O gauge as well, which of course is bigger than 00 gauge, but there you go. So 009 and N gauge are the same gauge when it comes to model railways, and also a 009 locomotive will run on N gauge track and an N gauge loco will run on 009 track. So they are the same gauge, and so that is why I have bought an N gauge ballast spreader, and also because they don't do a 009 one obviously. But you know, N gauge, it's pretty much the same thing as N009 when it comes to gauge. Okay, so I have the camera on the tripod. I'm now going to ballast this section of track first. It's all the way along here and down along here. Now I'm not going to show ballasting all of the track on camera. Some of it I probably will, the rest of it I'll do on camera. Or off camera I should say rather. Okay, so we have the ballast spreader here. And so now, as you can see under the bottom, it has 3 holes. Because it spreads ballast in between the track, in the middle, and on the outside. So it has to go on that way where the holes are. Then what you do, you get your ballast, and you fill it up. Now I'm going to use a teaspoon to fill it up. You could use a tablespoon if you wanted, but I'm using a teaspoon. So about 3 lots will do it. And then you gently spread it on the track. So I'll just move the ballast to one side. And look at that. That is how it works. And I'm very impressed with that. And that's a majority of a section already done in using only a few teaspoons full of ballast. And you know, 'cause it'll take you ages to simply do it like this, because you have to put a teaspoon on at a time and then just simply spray it out with a brush. So this will take you several teaspoons to do it. This has already been the first lot, in one go, and just look at how much has been done. So I'm very, very impressed, to say the least. Right, so that's one section done. As you can see, I've ballasted up to there, because there's no point, as I said before, I'm not going to be ballasting behind the station because you're not going to see it. And that's been done in a lot less time than it would have taken using just a teaspoon and brushing it on. I mean, look, I've only used that much of this ballast, so there should be easily enough, well, more than enough to simply finish all this. But there's a few areas on the double O gauge lens that need touching up, so I should have enough for that as well. So all this has been done off camera, and it's all been glued down. I will be showing you the gluing in a minute on another section. So I'll now move on to the rest of the ballasting. Now yes, before I do, that bit under the tunnel, I did have to use a teaspoon and a brush because I couldn't get the ballast spreader under there. But that has been glued down, not the rest of it. Okay, so we'll now move on. Right, so this part here, with my fingers pointing to all the way down here, has been ballasted. So now I'm going to put on some glue. And I'm going to do this using treated PVA glue, which I've done a video on in the past, which you can find on my channel. In fact, I'll probably put a YouTube card up on the screen somewhere of this video, so you can just go and watch it. So it's in a dropper bottle, so I'm going to just simply get some into this pipette and just drop it on like that. But I won't show you doing all of this on camera, of course. In fact, I'm going to need to put some more glue into this bottle. It's a good job I've made a big bottle of the stuff using an old squash bottle, because I've done that precisely so I can just go back and fill it up instead of just going back and keep constantly making it. Right peeps, I'm now happy to report that all the ballasting is now finished. For now. Because this siding will still need to be ballasted, but that's not going to happen yet until it's finished. But I've got more than enough ballast to do that. I also have, this is nothing to do with the 009 project, but on the double O gauge track, on the double O gauge section of the layout, there were some areas that did need some ballast on. Particularly because some sections of track got replaced. But that's been taken care of now. But anyway, I am very happy with how the ballasting has turned out. And it's all been done, well most of it, using the ballast spreader. I did have to use a teaspoon in some areas where it was hard to get the ballast spreader to. But it's all been done apart from that using the said ballast spreader that I got. And I think it's now looking better now that the track is ballasted. So now I've got to let the glue to dry, and I can't run any trains on it because otherwise it will knacker them up and ruin them. But just to show you, I'll put one of the coaches on the track and run that along. Okay, well it derailed there. because it caught the fence there. But just look at that. I mean, this is the fine ballast, and that runs over it almost as if the ballast isn't there. Caught the bush there. I think I might have to trim the bush back, I think. But yeah, I mean, that is very nice and smooth, because this is the fine ballast, you see. Of course, pushing it around like that, it's going to derail it. Obviously, it won't derail once it's got a locomotive behind, well, in front of it, pulling it along. I know there's some ballast on the sleepers in some places, but I don't really mind about that. I suppose it makes it look more interesting if there's ballast on some of the sleepers in some areas. But yeah, I mean, the ballasting that's been done has been perfect, and it's taken less time to do the ballasting using the ballast spreader than it would have done using just a teaspoon and pushing it on. I did use that method for obviously on the double O gauge track, but obviously I didn't do that on the 009 track, obviously because I had the ballast spreader. And so it definitely was the correct one to use after all as well, the N-gauge one, because it's gone on very, very nicely, the ballast has. Because as I said earlier, N-gauge and 009, they are the same gauge. So I've just got to let the ballast dry now. Same with what I did on the 00 gauge part of the layout, before I can start running any trains again. Because it is important you let the glue dry before you start running anything. I'll run the couch over this bit as well. Because if I used medium ballast, any bits that go inside the track, it would either cause problems or it just wouldn't run as smooth. Because the wagons or even the locos would catch on the ballast, either possibly derailing wagons, or, you know, you'd hear the noise of the models running over the ballast, so it wouldn't run as smoothly. But here, because I've used fine ballast, even if there's small bits in between the rails, no problems there at all. It runs over them smoothly. And I'm really glad I bought the ballast spreader as well, actually. It really has worked a treat, and it's meant it's taken me less time to ballast the track using this as it would have done by using it by adding it bit by bit using a teaspoon and then having to spread it out with a brush, because that would have taken a lot longer. This, it's taken hardly any of that time at all, to be honest. It's taken a lot less time, so I am very happy that I bought this, and I definitely recommend you get one of these ballast spreaders for your layers, because they are definitely worth it. I paid 12 quid for this from Hatton's and it works a treat, so I definitely recommend you get them. Right, quick update before I sign off. I've made a few corrections. First of all, the sleepers down here were all covered up with ballast. I mean, I don't mind in some areas where there's a small amount of ballast on the sleepers, don't get me wrong. But up here, there was a large amount of, well, the majority of the sleepers were covered up with ballast, and so I've just scrapped that away, just to make it look a bit interesting. I did the same down here as well. Because some of the sleepers up there also had quite a fair amount of ballast on them. But like I say, I don't mind some of the sleepers having a small amount of ballast on them. But if the majority of them are completely covered with ballast, then I don't think it looks right. Also, something else I've done is down here, in some areas along here, and even over there, there are gaps under the track where the ballast was not exactly right under the track, if you get what I mean. Where it just, for me, that didn't look right. So what I did was, I applied it on using a spoon, a very small amount, and then slightly brushing it on, because well, to do what I had to do, I could have probably used the ballast spreader, but then I would have ended up with large amounts of ballast all over the place from doing it, so I had to use a small teaspoon and a small brush to do it. But what I did was, the gaps under the track here, where the ballast wasn't quite under the rails, I put some more ballast under there, and that looks a lot better now, I think. Certainly looks a lot better than a big gap under the track with no ballast under it, or just a big gap under the track where there's some ballast under here but not right under the track, because then there's just a large gap under the track. Then that doesn't look right. So that's been filled in with ballast to make it look better. Right, I'm now going to test tally clean out on a couple of sections of track. I think I will need to clean the tracks a bit though. So look at that, runs nice and smooth. So we'll now try in this section. I mean, you can't see from this angle obviously because the loco is now right up the top. But that's gone up there with no problems at all. But I will need to give the tracks a bit of a clean. But I'm well happy with how the ballasting's turned out. And the trains are running over that perfectly smoothly. So that's it for this video. I think the video is long enough. I don't want to make it any more longer. So that's all we have time for in this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out my other videos. And I'll see you again soon for the next video. I have no idea when part 5 of the 009 project is going to come out, but it'll come out when it's ready and when I get round to finishing off on the 009 project itself. But until next time, take care.